Well, hello.
Heidi
Welcome
ho, everybody.
back.
Heidi
Hi, hi,
ho.
hi. I am Tara.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
I
Natalie.
timed that. Timed that so poorly for you. I'm so sorry. I saw you going for a sip.
Yeah.
Apologies. Yeah, and we are making a movie, and this podcast about making a movie. We are on the adventure of making our very first feature film called Turns Out, and it's apparently a long process. This is gonna be a long podcast. Not this
Yeah.
episode, but like the show and in totality.
In general, yeah, like it is. I gotta be honest, full disclosure, before we start today's episode, I don't feel like I'm ready for this. If anybody's been following my Facebook, you know that I had a bottle of wine last night. So,
Real talk, real
today
talk.
today's gonna be a fun one.
Brain's not clicking, but you know what? You got to keep the show must go on.
Yeah, the show
The
must go on.
show must go on. All right. Before we get really rolling here, I just want to mention at the top that all our super chats that happen here on the YouTube channel and all of the PayPals that happen on the off times, all are going to be going toward making the movie happen. All those funds we're collecting it together and account, using them to take care of the things that need to be done to make this movie happen. Without that, guys, it means so much. Big thank you to Jack Boots for being a PayPal person. Like, thank you so much for donating to our cause. We appreciate it. And without you, I don't know how we would, I don't, money is the hardest part. Money is
Mm-hmm.
the hardest part of making a movie, for sure.
We
All
haven't even
right.
gotten to that
This,
portion of
I
the
know we
podcast.
haven't, we have episodes coming up dedicated to money. And I'm like, that's the
Ugh.
hardest for me. But today we are going to be talking about the core team. We're currently still in the development process of making the movie. That's where we're at the podcast structure. That's where we're at in real life. And we've talked to our producer that we have brought on for this show, and we really want to dive a little more into that core team that you need to pull together at the early point in the process. When you're a studio, you wind up doing this as like packaging people together. When you're indie like us, you're looking for people to fill in these spots early on, and normally it's just me and Natalie.
Yeah.
Sometimes for bigger shorts, we brought in more people early on.
Mhm.
Uh, and so we've really had to sit and think about, like, wait a minute, who do we need right now? So that's where we're currently at. Yoko
Yeah.
team.
Who do we need at on this scale compared to who do
Yeah,
we need for our short films is very different,
very.
and the amount of prep that has to go in is about the same as the difference in number of pages. Like, it's a lot more people and a lot more things that we need.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot more people you need early on. And it's like packaging when you're a studio, like that's a big decision, like picking your director and your key actors and all that good stuff. For us, it really is a do or die because if you pick the wrong people early on, you wind up like not succeeding because not everyone is invested. You lose people, it takes
Yeah.
longer. Like it's really important. And like the dynamics of getting along. Like if you guys are not going to agree on like key things, it's like a marriage. And they're like,
Mhm.
essential things you got to all kind of agree on early on, like how to spend money, what's important, like what the tone of this movie is early on, or else you're going to have problems later on, just like in a marriage.
Well,
So
that same thing they compare, you compare it to a marriage, but like people could compare making movies to babies. Like
mhm,
they take the same amount of of effort, etc. And so you need to make sure that your team that you're having a baby with is is on board for all the same. You're going to raise it the same way. You're going to the
Yeah.
dieting is going to be the same. You
The
better have that
diet,
religion
changing the
talk,
diet. Oh, you better have that religion talk early on. You best have that talk.
Yeah.
All right, so in like broad stroke generalities, when putting together a team for an indie film, the in our research, the list that we found is pretty much as follows. You need a director, you need a producer, you need a writer. They recommend a casting director, a production designer, and locations manager. And we
Those are
were,
your I mean, obviously there's a lot more people that your like your DP and stuff is your team like once you get into pre-production, but this is just for your
mhm,
development stage still. This is the core
yeah.
team that you kind of they recommend that you bring on board in this phase.
Hmm. Yeah, like, and there's really good reasons for each one. So for your indie, like a lot of times with indie, you either already have your writer or you already have your director because you've got the script already. Like in packaging big
Mhm.
studio films, they have an idea and they need someone to write it, and then they hire the writer. They have an idea and a tone, and then they want to hire the new hot shit director and bring them on. Like the guy who's doing Sinners is now getting all these deals because he does really good projects. So like you're
Mhm.
looking for the right fit of people put together. In an indie world, you probably already have your script and or director. A lot of times in indie, and the reason why the director winds up being like the top of the list for indies is because the director is the one driving the machine. Like they're the one wanting to make the project happen because they're using it to as a portfolio piece to move their career forward so that they can get hired by the big studios in the future. So they tend to be the
Mhm.
driving force, which is not our scenario, but
No.
that tends to be the norm. So that's why obviously you want a director and a writer early on is they're the ones making it happen.
Mhm. And I think it's very common in the indie world for the director to also be the writer. I think
Ah,
that's
yeah,
pretty common.
pretty
Not
common.
in our
And
case.
not in our case. And you can tell this is the way it has been up until pretty recently in the way that a lot of film festivals handle the submission process and like who they turn to talk
Yeah.
to about the film. It's always the director. We get so
Yeah.
many emails to our production company that are addressed to our director. We're like, well, the director's not involved at this point
No.
in the process. We're in charge. But that's just how the indie film world has worked up into the present day, and it may be kind of changing. You want to bring a good producer on pretty early. A lot of times, Natalie are self-produced, so we're already there. However, we're finding like you need somebody else who is a dedicated producer to come in and like help you figure out how much money you need. Like
Mhm.
be that guiding light early on in the process, like putting in their 2 cents creatively, because it is good to like have a collective like brain on like, oh, this is what works.
I
Um,
think even in short film world, I'm going to just chime in there that
mhm.
I think
Go.
that a producer having a dedicated producer is very beneficial if you can do it. Um,
Yeah.
in all of our things, Tara and I have run into trying to wear too many hats on many of
Hmm.
our productions,
Yeah.
and because Tara also produces,
Hmm.
so her not doing that frees up her to be creative. It frees her up to write, frees her up to,
Hmm.
but the producer is going to be very instrumental in moving these things along and having someone who's dedicated to doing that task while your director is
Hmm.
able to now do the more creative side of it is, I think, very useful if you can afford to have a
Yeah.
producer.
If you, yeah, if you can afford it, or like if you have somebody who wants to be a producer and they're building their credits, which is kind of where I'm at as a producer. Like I've worked for free many times because I'm building up my resume and building up my experience. So, I might not be the perfectest, most bestest producer, but I am, competent and good. And we've hired on producers for our short films to put
Hmm.
that hat on for me when we get closer to time And it's only been a good thing for me as a creative person, like to like hand that hat off. Or when I've taken that hat from somebody, I've only seen my directors be able to flourish because I'm like, let me just take that hat
Mm-hmm.
from you. I got this. You go be creative. Like, you go do that part of the job. So bringing that producer on
Focusing
early is important.
Yeah, focusing on your
Yeah.
department is very and yes, at this stage you need someone who is able to focus on as a director like the vision and getting the vision together,
Yes.
and the producer can focus on the hiring and the paperwork and the, I
Hmm.
don't know what a producer does still. I know we
Logistics.
just covered this, but
We just covered this, but I still don't know what you
I
do.
still don't know what a
Any
producer does.
anything that, well, the thing is, like, you hear people go like, so what does a producer do exactly? This is like the most famous thing. What does a producer do exactly? And the answer is always, well, anything that needs to be done. Like that,
Right?
it's just,
Yeah.
it's like a, and we all of us producers now like kind of laugh like, I don't know how to tell you what my job really is because it's, I'm literally filling in whatever needs to be done. Like,
Yeah.
and I think that's why I like it, is that I'm like, oh, is this the party, a task that the party needs? Well, I'll go get the ice. Like, it's just like, what
Right.
do you need? We need to make like little side hors d'oeuvres. Right? Oh, I got it. I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's producer, but like it's a really important part of the, in the early part of the process. If you can find a different dedicated producer, do it. Find that person. Uh, for a lot of feature films in the indie world, and I know this seems like a little cart before the horse for anyone who hasn't done this part, casting director. You may not be like casting all of your bit parts if you've got like a 10-person cast, that'll come later. But a casting director can help you get a name person on if that's the kind of film that you're making, and getting that name talent on can help you get the funding you need because now your project, your product has got a little more viability. So if you're
Hmm.
got a casting director who has good relationships with actors who can be like, no, no, I'm going to vouch for this script. It's good. I really like this director. I think you should do this project. That casting director vouching to that actor get you a name talent you might not have had access to before, which will then, once you've got that person saying, I want to do this project, now you can take that name and go to people who are potentially going to help fund your project and like, oh, I love Alan Tudyk. Well, I will produce the Alan Tudyk movie that you're making. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Here's some money. So like getting a, even though it seems a little early in the process of making a film, getting a casting director on is, it can help you get the funding that you need. And then you'll probably circle back later and do the rest of your casting process.
I I just I was in a uh, what am I saying here? Gig Harbor. That's the film festival I was trying to remember the name of. The one I work for. Um, Gig Harbor just had a little alumni Zoom get together, and they had a feature film filmmaker who was on their second feature film talking. Um, and one of the things he said was pertaining to this.
Mm,
And I think the casting director becomes kind of underrated in this moment because uh, because a lot of us in the indie world we cast our friends, like,
yeah.
so we didn't have a casting director for Social Anxiety or for
Mm-mm.
Imaginary Friends or any of those because we went through and just go, hey, let's see if so and so wants to audition. And most of the time it wasn't even an audition, it was just like, hey, do you want to play
Yeah.
this role, we think you'd be great. However, this is what he said that I thought was interesting. As a director, you can only move an actor 10%. So if you get the casting wrong on something, you can, as a director, only move this actor within 10% of their, like for most actors. Like
Oh.
he was saying, that if you got the casting wrong in that first portion, you can only move them 10% closer to the role. Like if they're all the way off,
Oh.
if they're a bad actor, you can only get them 10% better. You can't. I was just like, that's an interesting way
That's
to
really
look at it.
interesting.
I was like, you can get them, and you can do a little bit in post, but all of
Yeah.
that is like, if you get this part wrong, your movie
Yeah.
is effed. You know.
Well,
So
you so often hear that like the biggest part of the director's job as far as acting goes is to hire the right actors. If you hire the right actors, a
Yeah.
lot of the work is already done, especially if you're hiring competent, seasoned actors who have done the job before. Like, great, you're handing me the job. I will do the job, I will do the homework, and I will bring to you options in a character. And then, yeah, you're right. You just move me
Hmm.
like by a little percent here or there, like to get me more in. I've never heard it put that way. That's really fantastic.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this
Very cool. So
pertains
yeah.
to my podcast tomorrow. I'm glad I was here
Well
taking a
done. Well
note.
done.
Yeah.
Why did I miss that? I kept seeing it and I kept not putting it on my calendar. I should have gone to that.
Hmm.
Go to things. Go to things, filmmakers. Go to things. I did not follow my own advice. Okay, so also another job that can seem a little cart before the horse for us indie filmmakers, but I think is essential that we found on the list is the production designer. Depending on what kind of movie you're making, depending on like how crafted the world is. Now, if you're in a two-person, you're in a living room, it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing something really visually striking, so like a friend of ours recently made a puppet movie, and it's a puppet short, and he had to build a whole world of puppet for puppets. So he needed that production designer to come in really early on to tell him how much money do I need to make a
Yeah.
puppet city? How much money do I need to paint?
Well, and we've had situations where, I mean, because you're looking at the money at this phase. You're trying to get the budget,
Hmm.
you're trying to get the time. Where are you going to have to, and this will lead into location manager as well. But where are you going to film this? And production designers are amazing in that they can look at a room and go, "Yeah, I can make this a bunker." Like, and you're
Yeah.
like, "What do you mean?" Like, "Oh
Oh,
no, I can turn this around. This can be a coffee shop and a yogurt shop." And you're like, which has
yes.
happened for us,
Hmm. Yeah.
that 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 it's a special skill. And I've done some production designing for friends where they're just like set decking more than anything else.
Hmm.
Um, but that entire thing of like, no, I'm going to build you a world and this is what it's going. So they even in some productions, like if you're doing a Star Wars, your production designer is going to come in really early on, but so is
Really.
your costumer. Because I think
Yes.
that is the world building ones. That's very
Hmm.
different
Yeah.
than it's very different than the ones that take place in reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I could not agree. Yeah. If you're doing anything where you're creating an entire vibe like that, like, and if especially if you as the director, this is really important to you're setting the tone of what you do. Like you're a Wes Anderson kind of guy, and so you're making Wes Anderson stuff. You got to bring that production designer
Yeah.
and that costume designer in so early to like help you actualize the vision so that you can take that data from them and then go turn to your producer and go, how much money is this going to cost me? Because you
Right.
need to know that information as early as possible. How much money do we need? Which actually kind of circles back. There's a great comment here on the podcast. The producer usually is the one who tells me about that what I wrote will be too expensive to shoot, uh, and that I have to bring it down a notch. Like, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that is great. Yeah, that's why you want that producer in early. Like, we can't do an explosion. Well, you can. It's going to cost you X. Is there another way to solve this problem? So
We
fixing
did
that
that
problem early on.
with Imaginary Friends. We had a pretty solid meeting early on that was
Yeah,
trying to solve for having to rent the coffee shop. I think that's what it was. And we were like, can we bring in a food
yeah.
truck? Can we bring in like just we knew someone who had a food truck. Do you think we can get that for cheap and just have them bring it there? Like
Mm-hmm.
there are all those
Yeah.
things that you say, here's the way to solve for those money problems up front. And we're kind of in that phase right now, even though we don't have a production uh, designer or location manager on yet for turns out,
Mm-hmm.
but we're kind of in that, okay, if we use X, then that changes budget, but it
Mm-hmm.
also changes parts of your script, and now you're going back to your
Right.
writer and how do
Right.
I fix this?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, which beautifully dovetails into the last one that's on this list, and it's location manager. For us
Hmm.
indie filmmakers, having somebody or at very least getting your team on the location thing early on, like finding that yogurt shop, finding or solving for yogurt shop. For us, it's the bunker in the house.
Yeah.
Like we're solving for bunker right now. And so finding a location that we can potentially either do the bunker in the house all in one city, we can do the bunker somewhere else, the house somewhere else. Like we're currently moving those pieces
Yeah.
around trying to figure it out because if we can solve for bunker and solve for bunker for free, solve for house for free, that means we could take all the money we would have spent on bunker location, house location, and funnel that into the set deck part, which
Yeah.
would be really helpful.
Yeah,
So
because
like getting
we with yeah, with the bunker, we've been talking about, do we have to build it on a soundstage? I
yeah,
mean, that's actually, I think if you had all the money in the world, that would be the way you do it because it's easier to
right.
film. You can
Oh,
move
yes.
walls, you can,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to worry about sound the same way. So then,
Yeah.
the next best thing is a basement to look like. And, now you're sacrificing sound a little bit when you do things like that. But once you get those locations, you need someone, a location manager, who is going to be the relationship between you and that location. Um, it's not something I've ever done. That would be the worst. I mean, that always just falls to our producer in any
Mm-hmm.
project we've ever done. Um, but I think that's a thankless job. Like the production, I mean, the location manager,
Yeah.
just gets the brunt of a lot of things. They're the
Yeah.
middleman
Yeah.
between you and the space that you just put a hole in the wall.
Oh my
Or,
gosh, yes.
like
Yeah.
there's just it's never a good.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, no, that's always a rough go. But so yeah, for us, we have a very specific script, a very specific story, we wrote this project in a way that if we had to film it 100% ourselves on our we could. So when we originally
Yeah.
conceived this as a web series, we're like, well, let's make something because we've seen how quickly a project can just blow up and grow and like how quickly the budget gets huge and how quickly things can get out of hand. Like we've had that experience firsthand, and that's not a bad thing, but we wanted to make sure we could actually get it done because we've had things have to wait because like Imaginary Friends had to wait because we just didn't have the skill set at the time to make it. When
Yeah.
we first envisioned it in like 2008, it was like 10 years later we actually made this movie and got it to a film festival.
Hmm.
So for us, we were like, well, let's make sure we could do it ourselves. So we intentionally wrote something that was just two people. So it was just me, Natalie, and I. Easy peasy. Casting done. We need one other guy's hand and like a
Yeah. At one point in
voiceover.
time.
At one point in time, we got it. We got a hand. We got a male voiceover, and that's it. We knew that we wanted to early on bring on another production team and director, and we just so happened to get incredibly lucky because we had gone to film festivals and been making friends. And the Evening Squire team, who you've met Allison so far, we will introduce you to our director later on. They just happened to see us at another, like the fifth film festival we all went together. And we're like, the next project you guys have, we want it. We're like, oh, I'm so flattered. Like, first off, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for like what but they enjoyed our work as much as we enjoyed their work, and we knew we had similar tone and style, and we talked to them at length like, okay, what would that mean, da, 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 da. And then later, like, we were like, okay, we've got this one, you've made a feature, you've had the experience of making a feature on a massive budget, or not a massive budget, on a tiny budget, that's what I meant, like you're massively budgeted. That's what I
Yeah.
mean. Reverse all that. So we're like, this is a good fit in that they've been where we want to go, and they'll understand how to make this truly indie. So
Yeah.
we got them on early, and so far it's been a great marriage of like, hey, how can we do this thing simply? Um,
Yeah.
we have not brought on a production designer at this point, though we have been talking about like maybe we talked to my dad a little bit, my stepdad, who's a set designer and a line designer. I have talked to him and said, hey, if we wanted to hire you to come in and design a bunker for us, could you? Because he's a theater designer, and we're like maybe going the theater way and making flats for a bunker works. I
That
don't
was
know. That's as
my
far as we've
thought.
gotten with
I
that.
My
It's a
thought
good
was like,
idea.
let's rent a theater for a
Yeah.
few days and let's build a set on it instead of a sound
Yeah.
stage. I was like, I mean, it's basically the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it
Yeah.
seemed like it was something that was doable. But we do, but we do have a space that might work out. That is,
We now have a basement. Yeah.
yeah, it's. I don't even know if it's a basement, but yeah, whatever it is. So I
It's
think
whatever.
our
Looks
bringing
like
a
it.
production designer will come after we
Hmm.
figure out if we can use these spaces. So
Yeah.
at that point in time, you bring in the production designer to go, oh, yeah, I can make this work. You know,
Yeah.
uh, mm, eh, I don't
Yeah,
know.
sure,
Like, I
sure.
guess that's
Yeah,
what
we
we
don't
do.
know.
I don't know. Is that in our budget? I don't remember.
I don't know. If we hire my dad, it might be.
There you go.
I bet he could still production design it, but like, because he's my dad, like, hey, dad, can I pay you less than you're actually worth? I know that you have won Tonys, but
I
like,
know. Can
could
you
you help
please?
us? Could you help
Beep,
us? I don't,
beep.
it
Yeah.
may also depend on, and this is a big one, scheduling, because like he may not be available, and that's also an issue when you bring on team. You may lose them to scheduling, so that may be a problem. Dad, we'll talk later. I'm sure he's gonna watch this. And then we are our own location managers, but we are actively doing the location management portion of it right now. We haven't brought anybody on, but we are starting to ask around like, hey, who's got a house? Who's got a basement? Who's got a this? Who's got a that? If we had monies already, we probably would maybe think about hiring somebody to do the job to help us, but we don't even know what city we want to do it in just yet. We're
Yeah.
zeroing in on it. For us, we don't need a casting director, obviously. But we've talked about like at what point do we want to bring in that cinematographer, that director of photography, and that relationship is really between the director and the cinematographer. That's such an important relationship that to
Hmm.
date I've always really relied on my director to go, who do you want to work with? Who do you
Yeah.
enjoy working with? Who do you already have a wonderful dialogue with? Very, very rarely have I brought in a DP. And to all my DPs who I adore and love, I haven't brought you in on a project myself is because I haven't had the window of time where they're like, where the director's like, I don't have somebody. And I go, great, I've got 5 guys that are awesome. And here's the
Yeah.
one I think fits you best. Like very rarely have I got to bring Way in. Like I think
Hmm.
I'm the one who introduced Way and Ben who did Obit. I introduced them because like I think you guys would work well together. I think you guys have a similar love of the same kind of shots and style and stuff, but
Hmm.
very rarely does that get to happen. It's such an intimate relationship between director and DP that like I tend to let them take the lead at first.
Although that's not true. We introduced Wade to Jason, and
Yeah,
we
that's
also
true.
introduced Drew to Jason. Drew
That's
Suppa,
true. Yeah.
who
I
did
think
Panic Button. Both of
yeah,
those.
that's true.
So
Yeah. I mean, like the other projects I've done is just a producer. I have
yeah.
like been, who do you want? Like when
Hmm.
I had an issue with a project where we had to fire the DP, and it was a big question of who do we want? And I was like, listen, I've got a collection of guys that I love and adore, and I know which one would fit best with you. But do you have somebody you already was like, well, let me call my guy. Like, okay, if you got a great
Yeah.
relationship, go for it. So in that part of in this early part of the process, like depending on who you are, you're probably the director who wrote your own script and
Yeah.
are making your indie feature. Amazing. And you
Yeah.
got it. You got a person.
I think that DP comes on in the next phase. This is when you're getting into your
That's kind of what I'm
pre-production.
thinking. Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I think some of these all kind of move are
Hmm.
depending on your project is when you bring them on.
Yeah.
So like your
Yeah.
location manager, I think you're in pre-production before you get a location manager on. Personally, on
Yeah.
the big studio ones, probably a little bit different.
Hmm.
Production designer again, if you're not building a world or a time period or then you probably don't need your production designer on just yet. um,
Yeah.
but once you get into pre-production, like the minute you hit pre-production you need those people anyway, so
Yes. Yeah.
scooping them up while
Yeah.
you're in development is probably a better idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably. Probably. Yeah. For sure. For sure. For us also, like the very important thing that Nally and I realized somewhere along the way is like the relationship for us as writers and actors because neither of us really have a deep desire to be directors. Like Natalie often directs out of duress, and that's just like Natalie, you're in charge here. It's just what it is. We've realized how important selecting the right director. So any filmmakers out there who are actor, producer, writer types like us, bringing on the right director is really important. Like we've realized we've gotten so lucky. Like I've
Yeah.
loved every director we've ever worked with, and I would
Yeah.
hire each one of them again in a jump and jack flash. Like Jason, my heart song, one of my favorites.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I love that man, and anytime I have a chance to like throw his hat in the ring for things, I always do.
Yeah.
But so we've realized like not everything that we write is right for every person, and which is
Well,
a
I think, yeah,
unfun.
no, and yeah, I
Go ahead.
know, but I think
Yeah.
everyone recognizes it when it comes to actors. It's
Yeah.
very obvious when it comes to actors that not every part is right for that actor, and you can't use the same
Mm-hmm.
actors in everything you do because some of them are
Right.
dramatic, some of them are comedic, some of them do really well in horror films. Some, like that's just giant genre leaps. But even within comedy, there are certain things that, like, while I think I'm very funny, I'm not. If you have a Robin Williams type role, that's not me. Like that
Oh
is
yeah.
not
Yeah.
my that's not
Same.
I'm not the person that you want for that role. But the
Mm-hmm.
same is true of your directors. And I think
Yeah.
it's true of your DPs as well. But directors,
Uh-huh.
I just don't think people think about it the same way. Um, they there are certain kinds of comedies that certain directors are going to be better at, and some of that we've had this in the past where there's different directors we want to work with, and we just go, this is not necessarily the project for that one
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think it's their kind of comedy. uh,
Right.
Again, all comedies, but like this is not necessarily their kind of comedy. They're not the
Right.
romantic comedy, they're not the slapstick comedy, it's not absurdist, they're
Mm-hmm.
not the um even like getting down to on stage. Like
Yeah.
I think we take advantage of it on stage a little bit differently. Like directors do everything. You're always the director, whether it's a comedy or a period
Yeah.
piece or Shakespeare. It's your same director at the theater, and you're like,
Yeah.
it's not really their strong suit, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of you don't think about it with actors the same. I don't know why
Right.
we
Yeah.
assume that
It's
directors can
it's
do all the
interesting
things.
how we yeah, it's interesting how we like want to just direct this thing, and then when it doesn't turn out as good as it could have been, we then don't go, well, we go, well, he's just a bad director. Like, well, no, you made him direct something that wasn't him or her. It made them direct something that wasn't necessarily their wheelhouse. Like, it's not their
Right.
fault.
Right.
That's just absurd.
And now some directors I think can transcend, to different
Absolutely.
genres and everything. And
Absolutely.
it's it's just something we don't ever think about the same way. But
Yeah.
I used to think that this was an unpopular opinion, but when Brad Pitt was in his younger days, I thought that he was trash. Like
Mm.
I just was like, this guy can't act. Sure, he's pretty, but he's greasy, and that's not my thing. Um, But the minute that Brad Pitt moved into doing more quirky roles, I thought he was
Hmm.
phenomenal. Like
Yeah.
when he was playing just this, and it's a like leading man Brad Pitt was boring.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
nothing. There was nothing in it. It was just a Ken doll up there. But then once, I mean, I think he's fantastic in Moneyball.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but but we see it in actors all the time like that. And then yes, there are Meryl Streeps who can do anything.
Right.
Okay, like
Right.
but the directors, I think directors have the exact same thing, and we don't acknowledge it the same
Yeah.
way.
Right. Yeah. And so for us, like, we've realized now at this point that we're consciously like thinking about our directors and what we think their strong suit is and putting them in the best place to be the best. Like a lot of our any of our director friends who are watching, don't worry, we have a project that's sitting on our desk that we're writing for you. We just
Yeah,
haven't got to it yet.
yeah,
And like there's many directors with them, they like they're not upset, but like, well, why are you hiring me? Well, trust us. We have the script that's like, oh, this is the blah blah script, and we just got to get to it. Like it's on our list of stuff to do. Just
mm-hmm.
we acknowledge we don't want to put them in the place of like, hey, direct this. Oh, it wasn't a good
Yeah,
fit. It didn't work out. It's your fault. Oh, you're not a bad direct. It's not your fault. You're not a bad
no,
director. We cast you in the wrong role. So like when you indie filmmakers out there who are actors and writers that are looking for your director, like really think about what it is you're making and look for the directors that fit most closely to that style. Who are if you're making a sci-fi, find that sci-fi person, that sci-fi director, that lover of sci-fi, and also is good at it. Like just I love
yeah,
sci-fi, but I'm not a good actor for sci-fi. Like I love sci-fi, But I don't act right for those movies, and that's why I produce them, is because they're not a good
Hmm.
fit. Find the person who's doing well at those things, look at their work and look, oh, does this look like my movie? Does this sound like my movie in my head? And for me, up until really recently, watching director reels, trying to figure out like, is this the director I want for this project? It was always like, I don't know, what am I looking for? Now I have a better understanding of like, oh, I'm looking for, do I see my movie in their work? Like,
Yeah.
am I watching this? If I turn the sound off, am I seeing my movie in the way that this looks? Like, oh yes,
Hmm.
this does look like an action thriller. Perfect. That's what
Yeah.
I'm going for.
Well,
Yeah.
and I will go back a little bit. So it's not that they can't do it. I don't want that to be
Right.
what, like,
No, no.
it's definitely not that it's that there's someone else who is a better fit for that role. Like, as an
Yeah.
actor, you have to learn that it's not that they hate me.
No. There's just
It's not
someone
that
just
they
slightly
there's
better.
someone who's
Yeah.
going to be slightly better at that role, or
Hmm.
is available for cheaper, or is not a redhead. That doesn't enter into it as much with
But
the director,
with
but
the hair
I just
color, yeah.
think that I mean, maybe it does.
But it's going
Uh,
back to the director's job of hiring the right actor for the role. The job is mostly done. And now you just got to move them the
mhm,
10% to get them right for the particular thing that you're trying to do.
right,
So you're
right.
hiring the right person means that that person isn't going to have to work as hard to stick that landing. And
Hmm.
that's the game. Like there's less leeway in film for you not being fitting quite right,
Well,
if that makes
and
sense.
this one specifically, one of the reasons that this one went Evening Squire's direction is because it's got a bit of a scrappy. We want
Oh
scrappiness
yeah.
with it,
Yeah.
and
Intentional
they have
scrappy.
intentional scrappiness, and um, their their last feature film, and Through the Portal We Go, their current feature film, their first I don't their feature film, and
Their
Through the
feature
Portal
film.
We
Their current.
Go, yeah, it uh, it has a scrap, and I don't know how to say this without it. I sometimes I think it's kind of might sound offensive when I'm saying it has
Right.
a
We don't mean
scrappy,
that.
like,
No.
I mean, and it has an indie vibe to it, and I want that
Yes.
indie vibe and
Yes.
we've talked about this before with, like, if you overproduce things, sometimes it can be a detriment to comedy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whereas, like, we've seen productions in festival that were, if they were done scrappy, if they were done with an indie vibe instead of being looking like Hollywood,
Super
this would
polished.
be
Mm-hmm.
hysterical. But because I can tell how much money you spent on that scene, now I'm noticing that there's nothing in your tool belt. Like,
Yeah.
you spent the money to have all that stuff, but now there's nothing in your tool belt. Like, what are you doing?
Yep.
I mean, just like those
Yeah.
little things, like, you are inviting more criticism because there is no scrappy feel to it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I think that Turns Out would actually suffer if it was overproduced.
I agree.
Um,
Yeah.
I think that the vibe of this being indie and we made it, is part
Yeah.
of the allure of
It
I think
serves
the
it.
script. Yeah.
Yeah. It serves it better. The look of indie, the rough around the edges, the like sometimes putting more money to something actually hurts what you're making
Hmm.
than not having enough. If it's, and this is like not an A for A example, but Jaws, the famous story of Jaws, they had a lot of money, but they ran out of money and they couldn't fix the shark anymore, which meant they had to get scrappy with it and do a different shot to represent the shark, and that having that a little more rougher like take on the shark monster
Hmm.
actually made a better movie. And that's the same idea. Like sometimes being overly produced, the shininess of it, the cleanness of it, the better camera doesn't actually serve the
Yeah.
story you're telling. We are telling this rough around the edges story that doesn't follow the typical structure of a script, and so we don't want it to look too perfect. We don't want it to
Right.
look too clean. Yeah, I mean, we need it to have a little bit of like haze on the camera. So,
Hmm.
again, picking the right, not right,
Team.
picking a good team, picking one that fits, like the best that you can do. And so that, again, bring it all back around, their core team, selecting your core team for this early part of the process is important. Like if you have the ability to pull from a wide net of people, it's a wonderful place to be, and selecting the right set. Now, sometimes you can't, and you gotta like find your closest friend that can be the director, do that. It's better to do it than not, but if you have the net and the ability, you've been working long enough, you've been going to film festivals, you've been making friends, and this is why going to film festivals and making short films and just getting work out there is important, because now you're meeting a lot of different people, and now you have people to pull from, and options and selections to go from. That's why all of that's important. That's why you and I have been
Mm-hmm.
making short films for 7 years, is because we knew we needed to make friends. We need to make more friends. And it's working out for us so far. We're making lots of friends. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And
go ahead.
I was going to say, and I don't know why I want to add this in there, but circling back to that whole finding the right director for a project and finding the right actor for a project and finding the right producer for a project. We haven't talked about writer in this because we are the writers,
Oh,
but
right.
if you are hiring someone or asking someone, because sometimes you're a director and you have an idea and you're just going to ask your friend to write something, make sure
Yeah.
it's the right project for them to write as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't ask don't ask a drama guy to write you a comedy script. Don't
Yeah.
the same thing we were talking about when it comes to getting people to give you feedback. Don't ask the drama guy to give you feedback on your comedy script necessarily. Like that might not be the best
Mm-hmm.
feedback for what you're doing. Make sure that these people that you you agree with them on what's funny, because I think that
Right.
is especially with comedy, like what is actually funny. If you don't agree with what's funny with your writer or your director or your actually I heard an interesting story recently that James Caan on Elf didn't think the movie was funny at all. Like
Yeah.
he had turned to Will Ferrell in the middle of it and was like, I just don't get it. Like, and it kind of makes for an amazing
It
performance.
it
Like if he
works.
got the
Yeah.
comedy, I don't know that it would have worked the same way, but
Yeah. I
so
think
that's an
him,
outlier, but
yeah, him, I think him not getting it and just being like, I don't understand your world, works for his character so well.
so
However,
well, yeah.
yes, yes. However, that is the exception that proves the rule. Like,
Yeah.
find people who get it, who understand what you're doing, who understand that, who have the same sense of humor. Like, if you're trying to make a absurdist comedy, you don't want a rom-com person. You want an absurdist like some people watch the
Yeah.
IT Crowd and don't get it. Some people watch Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, which is a very absurdist BBC show from the early 2000s, and are just like, I don't get this. Like,
Yeah.
and that's fine, but I'm not gonna hire you to direct my absurdist weird button comedy. Like, it's just not
Well,
gonna work out.
we saw that on stage. We would see that doing Python. When we did
Yeah,
Monty Python sketches, there would be just times where you could tell that one of your actors just didn't understand what was funny about this moment.
yeah,
And and those moments would just fall flat. And just think about that with an entire movie. Like if you don't get the comedy in
yeah.
this moment, or you don't get the drama in this moment, or you don't get the stakes, or you don't get what's scary about the thing, like if you don't have the right team that understands it, then I think you can run into some
Right.
serious holes.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, all that to say, core team, guys, very important to select your core team. Hopefully, our bit of research we've been doing about that is helping you select your core team. We are so grateful to have Evening Squire on this early in the process, because having another production company joined with us has alleviated a lot of my stress personally.
Hmm.
And I feel more like, okay, we're on the road to making this sucker happen, so much faster than if we were just trying to go it alone. Like we would just get a camera and we would film it on an
We would
iPhone
just
if we had to.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I do feel really good that we have this amazing team. We're going to introduce you guys to them next week. Is that true?
I
That's true.
think so.
I can't, I cannot keep up with day and time anymore. Like, I'm at a loss. Pretty sure our next episode, I should have looked this up. Pretty
I'm
sure
99.9% sure that
I
that's
am too.
correct.
I've just been doing a lot of scheduling for future
Yeah.
interviews and stuff, so my brain's a little all over the place with dates. My
Hmm.
brain's so scrambled with our future interviews that we've got coming up in the way future. Okay. Anyways, next week, I'm just gonna say it. Next week, we're gonna bring Evening Squire, who is our core team,
Hmm.
on to have an interview, and we're gonna talk all about core team getting it going. They've made a feature film themselves so far, so we're gonna talk to them about their process on making a feature film. And so we're excited to introduce the team now. We've met
Hmm.
Allison. Now you'll be meeting Mike, our director, and them as a unit, which we're so blessed to have them on board.
Hmm.
So that's going to be coming up. All right. Whew, all that to say, all that to bring us to my favorite part of the show. The part where I get to like lean back for a sec. The Abby
But
Singer shot, guys. The Abby Singer shot, which is our vocabulary lesson of the day.
vocab word of the day brought to you by Studio Binder. Eventually, they will sponsor this.
Eventually.
Um, yeah. So this is one that I had recently. It's again recently heard this term and realized I didn't know what it meant, and then it popped up in because we're in the M's right now.
Okay.
Uh, Mumblecore,
Okay.
a genre of movie. Like
Okay.
I've heard it before. Yeah.
I
So it's
think I know. No, I don't know.
No, it's a genre of movie. So it's a independent film movement that originated in the 2000s. It's often characterized by naturalistic acting and occasionally improvisation. The plot generally focuses on a group of people in their 20s or 30s dealing with terrible jobs or bad relationships, right? That's the definition.
I did
Um,
not realize that that was the definition for mumblecore.
so it's an American DIY film movement. It's very indie. Natural, again, the qualifications basically are naturalistic dialogue, low budget, and improv. Often there's improv, and I got to tell you, I looked this up and I still have no idea what this is. I don't know that I could identify mumblecore
Uh huh.
if it was in front of me. Oh, I guess I should have looked up how to say this guy's
Clerks.
name.
Clerks is definitely mumblecore.
No, see,
No.
Clerks and Slackers
Uh
are
huh.
the influences for mumblecore. So they
Oh.
were
Okay.
before
Okay.
mumblecore was a movement. So
Oh.
they are, they're kind of like mumblecore before mumblecore.
Okay.
People have been making movies that are influenced by Clerks and Slackers, and that's where they came. So like Clerks and Slackers are the only ones on this list that I've ever even heard of.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
so the people who are big in this movement, and this it got spawned. I think it was 2005. Actually, I don't have this written down. So it's like at South by Southwest. There were, I think it was South by Southwest. There were three different directors there who all had very similar films that were just like this,
Okay.
and they started calling it the Mumblecore films. And from there, it was Duplass. It was
Okay.
I don't know who this person is, but their name is Andrew Bujalski.
Okay.
Maybe that's how you say his name. Bujalski. And Greta Gerwig are all part of
Okay.
that mumblecore movement. Now,
Really?
yeah, and I'm looking at these. I looked through a list of movies. I haven't heard of a single one.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
this is
I
the
gotta
stuff that
go see this now. Yeah.
this is the stuff that plays at Tribeca and plays at
Yes.
plays
Yes.
at all
Yes.
those like higher end
Yes.
indie films,
Yeah.
So the only ones that I had
Interesting.
even heard of was Jeff Who Lives at Home. I did see that.
Okay.
I
I've never seen it.
think I remembered liking it. It's Siegel. What's his name?
Okay.
Jason
Jason
Siegel.
Segel. Okay.
And then
Oh,
I
I
had
vaguely remember this
heard,
now. Yeah.
yeah, and then I had heard of Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. And I had heard of Your Sister's Sister. But me, I've never seen them.
No.
I've heard these titles. Now, hold on. Before I move on, there is a subgenre of the subgenre, which is mumble gore. And it is
Okay.
horror films that are of the same ilk. And now those I'd heard of VHS is on there.
Okay.
That's in the last, like there's been a VHS and a VHS too. Like
Yeah.
those I've heard of, and there was a couple more in that I'm like, oh, at least I've heard of the horror films. I still have no idea what it is. Like
Oh my
after all of
gosh.
that, all
Well,
back in front of a
yeah.
note card, and I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Hearing that Greta Gerwig started from Mumblecore, like, kind of blows my mind because I know of her from Little Women and then from there, but I
And
didn't
that would
ever
not
think.
be. Yeah.
No, not at all. So now I really want to go watch whatever Mumblecore movies she had put out there, just out of curiosity. Like,
I also realized I don't know that I've ever seen a Duplass movie.
okay, okay.
Like, and
I
not
mean,
all of his are mumblecore,
right. Yeah,
I guess.
yeah,
I don't know what
yeah. I
his
feel
filmography is, but
this is one of those moments where I feel uneducated and I really want to work on my filmmaker education and go watch more stuff like this. So just so I know what it is. Listen, it's okay to not know, guys. I'm never going to say I'm perfect and know everything
yeah.
about making a movie or filming. I just love it. So, let's all pipe down about no one's
Yeah,
upset with me, but pipe
just the
down.
other day I heard someone referencing a film they had made and they were like, "Well, it's basically mumblecore." And I'm like, "What?" That okay.
I love it.
I just
I'm here for
let
it.
that pass
Yeah.
by. I'm like, I don't know what your film genre is,
Whoa.
but yeah.
What was that? What was that? It just zoops right past you. Oh, that's amazing. Okay,
Okay.
well now I'm gonna write down watch Mumblecore just so I have a good sense of just
What it
cuz. Just I
is.
don't know, just
Yeah.
wanna know. I just wanna know
There
now.
is a movie called Mumblecore. So I
Cool.
don't know.
Cool, guys.
I
Cool. Let's
don't
not make
know.
life confusing at all. All right, guys, that brings us to a big thank you to Jack Boots for the PayPal that you sent us. So appreciate you sending us some funds. If you are doing a super chat or PayPal, super chats happen during the live stream here on YouTube. PayPal's anytime, anytime you want to drink a bottle of wine and send us some money, I'm here for that.
Midnight
Do it by
handfuls
PayPal.
of raisin bran all over the bed.
And you're just
Guys,
on
I
your
was living
phone
my
like,
best life.
I feel like sending PayPals to Natalie and Tara to make their movie turns out. We will take those monies. And all those monies are being put into an account and we're using them directly to fund making this movie happen. I'm going to do a full disclosure here. Like, we just submitted the script to a bunch of screen competitions. A bunch, like 17 was our number, I think.
I think it's
And
16, but yeah.
and the reason we're doing it is to build credibility for the script, hopefully to snag some laurels for semifinalists, quarterfinalists, blah, 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 to assuage the investors to show them that we do have a product that is a winner and you want to
I
back
mean,
a
there's
winner.
always a chance you win and you get some money too, but
That is
like,
true. We're,
you
yeah,
know,
we're doing it
we're not
more
banking
for,
that.
we're doing it more for credibility. And like,
Mhm.
I'm going to just say the number because I just feel like being honest. Like, it's $800 to submit to
Yeah.
17 script competitions. So like, just to get the ball rolling to make a feature film, to get the credibility we need to look like we really know what we're doing, that we're actually making a movie, is an $800 situation. Like, it's no small feat from the very start to make a movie happen. Ben Rathig, thank you so much for the middle of the night wine fund. Thank you so much, Ben, for supporting the show or for supporting the movie. We really, really, really appreciate it. Could not do this without you guys. Could not. If you are listening to this as a podcast, we do this live on YouTube every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. If you're listening to this as a podcast and you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe to our podcast. Please send the podcast out to all of your filmmaker friends. We're really hoping to reach as many people as possible, to make as many friends as possible, to reach as many filmmakers as possible. Because as we get going, reaching more people, to find more people that know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, so that we can bring them on to the show to interview, that would be really helpful. So if you're a filmmaker, like, oh, I wanna help these girls out in a non-monetary way, that's a way to help us, is to like get our reach out there so we can start reaching these other filmmakers, because we want to talk to the filmmakers who are just a step ahead of us, but finding each other is really hard to do. Very easy to find you if you're Greta Gerwig. Well, find you is one thing. Know who you are. Harder to get to know you when we're all just starting out and we're still making names for ourselves. So filmmakers,
Mhm.
help us out. Get our reach out there. Okay. All right. That's our show. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. We'll be back again next week with an episode with our core team. And yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bam.
Whoo! And we're done, and we're at the credit cookie, which is where we goof off, turning on
We
the
made it. We
comments. We
made
did
it.
it. We did another one, guys. Can also be used on generic Raisin Bran, is what Ben Raythig said about his donation today. Oh,
There
so
is raisin bran
funny.
everywhere.
So funny. Oh my God. Um, I want to read this comment too. Blair Beveridge says, so many people in my industry hate the IT crowd, drives me nuts. One of the best shows ever made. I agree. It is such a good show and no one likes it. I
I've
don't know,
never
you
seen it.
probably yeah, you probably haven't. It's just now on Netflix. I don't know. It's a really awkward, absurdist sitcom.
Listen, this is
Hannah,
this
did you
is
raise support. That's that
this
subtle
is real
support.
raisin bran. This isn't generic. This is real.
That's the fancy stuff.
This is real shit.
It doesn't say rosin brand or something. I don't know how you would trick it out to be something else. Oh yeah, I love the IT crowd. That's one of those shows that I feel like doesn't get enough play. I showed Brian Garth Marenghi's Dark Place not too long ago, and he's like,
Yeah.
I don't get this. And I'm like, I don't know about this relationship right now.
I don't, I don't
It's
know if
such
we
a
can
good
continue.
I love you so much. Why don't you like this or understand it? But that just goes to show you, I would never hire Brian to direct our absurdist comedy anything.
Right. Yeah.
Product placement. That girl loves raisins. So, so funny. All right. I'd like to see I saw it earlier and I want to talk more about this cup. Mug of the week.
This is a
It's so cute.
it is. It's Pioneer Woman. Pretty sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
It looks
actually
it.
I'm not going to use this as a candle. I am
Okay.
going to make this into a little potted plant, I think, because it's very
Yeah, I
big.
was gonna
This
ask.
is
Yes.
ginormous, yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say that would make an excellent potted plant. Are you looking for a
You know
potted
what, this
plant?
week I had trouble with my candles. I had decided to try to use just my soy wax. I normally mix my
Mm-hmm.
wax with some soy and some soy pillar
Uh-huh.
blend. And I used just the soy this week because thought maybe my memory was wrong of how
Mm-hmm.
bad it was. And no, it's bad.
It's
It's
bad.
bad.
Oh no.
It's really, it's not, it's a tough medium.
It's a tough
But hold
it's
on, I
a
want to show you
tough
this one.
medium.
Hold on, let me show you the one. Hold on.
Yeah. I'm turning my mug on. If you guys want to know what I'm doing right now, I've got this heated mug and I'm turning it on so that my tea will warm back up.
Can you see this?
That's a fun mug.
It says you are all disappointments.
I
I
love
just
that.
love it. Smells
Oh
good
my
too.
God, I love that mug so much. That's
You are all
funny.
disappointments. Yep.
That's good.
Yeah. I made a
That's
lot of
good.
candles this week, actually.
Yeah. Oh, and tell them about the exciting. I got a random text in the middle of the day that said, I've sold a plant on
Oh yeah.
Saturday.
So last week, guys, I showed you my
Shh. Don't tell anyone though. Shh. But go.
I know. Yeah, so I showed you guys my potted plants. Like I'm doing this. I'm doing some little
I love
post
it.
action here. But I haven't gotten them approved for the market yet, and I wasn't really worried about it because they're not quite big enough yet to sell. They're not established yet in those pots yet. Anyway, but I brought 3 for decoration and I sold one immediately. Like this woman came into my booth. She's like, "Is that for sale?" And I said,
Well,
"Well." She's like, "Oh,
off
it's
the
already done."
record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, "I want
So
something big."
funny.
And I'm like,
Shh. Don't
"Absolutely."
tell the farmers market board that an illegal plant sale took place.
It was an illegal plant
But
sale.
it's so exciting that like right out of the gate you just put it out there and it already did well.
Yeah.
Which guys, for me is exciting because that opens the door for other I made this products, which just leads us into Craftland, which always makes me very happy. I like Craftland.
I'm
Anytime
gonna
we
dive. Yeah, I'm gonna dive in next week and start not next week, but maybe this month I'm gonna try to start making the jewelry holder from upcycled
Hmm.
picture frames, and then because I need to not be selling only candles at the farmers market in the summer. It's just too hot for it. I
Yeah.
can bring
Yeah. Yeah.
some. I can have a table. I can have,
Yeah.
12 out there, but it can't be the sole thing I think during the
The
summer. It's
sole
just
thing that's happening for you. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a lot of like, candles are finicky. Like, they're such brats. They're hard to work with.
I
So,
had one that so every week when I go out there, this is okay. There's just something weird with the candles. Like you box them up, you put them away, you leave them in the box for the week, and then you come out and you bring them into the market and you open up the box and you're like, what happened to that candle? Like, why is the entire top now white? Or why did it
weird.
like, and it's because they got hot enough or cold enough at one point in time to mess with the molecules. So I
Uh-huh.
had one 2 weeks ago because the way my booth was set up, I was getting light coming in on the candles and they
Yeah.
seemed fine while they were out there. But one of them decided that it got hot enough that the any bubbles inside it had all risen to the surface. So I just needed to hit it with the heat gun and it's fine now.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But I didn't know that until I got to the market and this is one that has to go back in the box because I'm not keeping that on my
Yeah.
table. So
Right.
anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah, it's a finicky. I mean, at least your crafting like is a business. My crafting is not a business. It doesn't make sense. Like mine is like, oh, today I feel like painting a rock to look like a carrot, and then now I'm gonna get oh my gosh, eBay. I found a Harry Potter Lego set. It is the original number three Pivot Drive from like
Hmm.
2000 and whatever, seven, whatever, for $25, which is well below what you even would buy it. We've even bought it new, or even if you bought it opened, like
Hmm.
normally the set would go for like $50. Sealed in a box, it's like $100. So I was like, my hobby is buying Legos at really discounted prices. It's not a good, there's no turnaround on this.
You can't, yeah. I
No,
mean, I guess
no,
you could
that,
build it, take it apart, and sell it again.
yeah, you could. I did see a guy, recently on TikTok that made me feel better though. He's like, if I had known however many years ago that I would quit my, what is it when you engineer job to buy Legos every holiday season at a discount price and then hold on to them for a year and then resell them in a year for a higher price and be able to pay my bills this way, I wouldn't believe you. And I'm like,
He's flipping.
he's flipping Lego sets. I was like, hold on a second. Backed up on that TikTok. Tell me more, sir. What is it? What is it you're doing? Exactly. I'm not that I'm going to dive
Yeah,
into like
no.
the Lego resale process because I imagine you have to buy a lot of them and then you got to store them and then you got to find a place to to sell them, which is probably eBay where I'm buying them. I mean, it's not impossible that this could be my future job, guys. Tara
That'd
speaking
be
Klingon again. Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm talking about Legos and Harry Potter, all words that no one understands whatsoever. I was hanging out with some friends on Monday night. We went and had dinner, and they're a bit younger than I am, and they started talking about vines and like all these inside jokes with vines and like every word and sentence. Like I understood the words independently, but the way that they strung them together in sentences, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about at all. Like they were going off on like the jokes and the something about buttering things. I'm like, I don't know any. No, I missed the
I
whole
missed all of
Vine
that. Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I'm not a part. So I'm sure that's how everyone feels when I start talking about Legos and dates and like the green roofs versus gray roofs of the Harry Potter castles. Like, listen, I get it. I know I know I'm crazy. I fully understand that I have found a really weird way to spend my adult monies.
Oh my
Uh
goodness.
one of my oh wait, hold on. One of my buddies has an original they has been an original Star Wars Lego guy since the 90s. He sold it all recently and made no joke 52K off of what he originally paid for them. Wow. But that was decades. And
Wow.
that
Yeah.
okay, full disclosure is kind of what I'm doing sometimes. I do buy sets that I'm like, "Oh, I think this is going to be worth money someday." Like I bought I bought the most recent bag end one right at midnight because it came with a freebie that you can only get by buying the set on the specific date.
Mm-hmm.
And it came with a Smeagol set thing, and I didn't open it. I'm just storing it for a later date. And I'm gonna resell that sucker. So in 20
There you
years,
go.
I'm gonna pay off my house that I
That's
don't
the
have.
big thing about that is that like you have to hold on to this stuff,
Yeah.
and not that like that's not doable, but
No.
I don't know, and hold on to it in like mint condition, which is not
Yeah.
something that I could possibly do.
Yeah.
Like,
Mint condition it means you have to have a storage unit or a safe place to put
mm-hmm.
these things for the next 20 years. So you're paying for like I already have a storage unit, so it's kind of not a big deal, but like if I didn't have a storage unit, I don't know if I'd be so interested. I'd be like, where am I going to put this? Where am I going to
Yeah,
put this for 20 years? And even then I'm sure I'll run into an issue in like 10 of those 20 years of like we're moving. Now where do I put this? Where do
right.
I put this? Whatever. I have a Harry Potter swag Lego bus from one of the films. Still in the bag? Jack Boots, I need a picture. I need to understand what you got. That sounds really cool. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up early. Natalie has got an acting gig and has got to first do the audio for the show and then jump in a car and drive 4 hours to
Yeah,
go be his
three and a
actor.
half.
Yeah. So we're gonna call a
Up in
little early
Salt Lake.
today.
I'm
Yeah,
making a
because she's
short
gonna
film.
be in
I'm
an
in a short
actor.
film. I'm
So, yeah,
I'm
excellent.
uh I'm playing my third psychologist this year. It's
Took me a
my
minute
new
to
no, yeah.
it's your new job, Vito.
Mean mom and
Uh-huh. Yeah.
psychologist. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yeah.
very understanding psychologist is what I get. Like
Yeah.
I don't it's like it's a lot of young writers out here. It's kind of funny. Like they
Hmm.
don't like their moms, but they like their therapists.
Interesting.
Their moms are all mean.
The
Their
bad guy.
therapists are all
So
like,
mean.
this one's listed as the cool aunt. You know, she's the cool aunt, and
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
like,
at least you know you're not playing the mean therapist and the mean mom. Like mean mom or cool therapist. Like at least
yeah.
you're
So I'm
swinging back
very
and forth.
versatile. I'm
Very
either really
versatile.
understanding or really not, or
Yeah, or really just
yeah,
evil and bad, bad, bad,
yeah.
bad. Oh, wait, before we go, we can now announce that in the event of
Mm-hmm.
is accepted into the Waco Independent Film Festival. If you've been a longtime listener, that was previously the Deep in the Heart Film Festival, so you've seen us make videos about that before. So much fun. I love going to this film festival. We're very excited. So we are going to Texas. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
also the script that
yeah.
Justin and Natalie wrote, Jello in room 213,
The Jello in room 913. The number's not important.
913. No,
I'm
no.
pretty sure it's 913 though. Justin.
Also,
Yeah, I mean it's billed as Justin and Natalie, and I did some work on it, but really Justin came to me with. I mean, it's kind of how I do with you, Tara, where it's like I'll
mhm.
come to you with a script and go,
Oh,
"Look, I wrote this thing."
and then we
Now,
workshop it or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm stuck. Yeah, he's like wrote it overnight, his first short film, and then it was like 23 pages. I got it down to 17. Yeah, my writing contribution is taking things out. Uh,
That's hard. That's hard. It is
yeah. So
hard to edit.
and then, and then, and then it was also Justin wrote it in such a way where there was like no, it was written more like a play in that there's only minimal stage direction, super
Yeah.
minimal. And I was like, we can't submit this to a festival like this. This is great if this is how you want
Yeah.
to, So basically, I went through and I did Brett's job and I wrote the narration.
Yeah. Yeah. We're very excited. Thank you so much to the Waco Independent Film Festival.
Uh-huh.
We can't wait to go. There is some mild early talk, and we're not promising anything. No promises. We do what we want, but we might make a film festival adventure video. We might start making, whenever we go to a film festival together, start making some geared to filmmaker, here's what this festival is like, informational videos, because we have
Yeah.
discovered how much other filmmakers really appreciate and love them. So we may have a Natalientara adventure video coming out, but don't get excited.
Yeah.
Don't,
We'll
do not
see.
hold us to that.
We shall see.
We'll
I
see.
want to. We want to. There's
Yeah, we want to.
So that is half the battle. Is it being something we want to do?
Will we still want to do it on day 2 of the festival and we're sweating like
No,
crazy and so tired?
no, we won't.
We'll see. We
But if
won't
we've
want
already
to.
started, we'll probably keep doing
We'll
it.
90% will keep doing it. 90% will keep doing it, but there are dead. There are some that we wish we could have bailed on, but we had to. Anyways, that's a whole different
Yeah,
discussion for that is
yeah.
a really paywalled conversation we'd be having. All right, Natalie's got to go work. Thank you guys so much. We will see you guys next week. And keep tuning into the Instagram stories, Instagram for stuff, and also YouTube stories because I'm putting out cooking content. So go check that out too. All right, guys. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.